right now I'm at the White Rocks Trail in Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. There's tons of hiking here, and basically I've been hiking, all throughout the season, especially with COVID. But in particular, I was super excited about this hike because I'm going with a geologist named Mike, and hiking with a geologist just completely changes the vibe, and you learn so much about how this area was formed and the history behind it, and it's like a whole different perspective instead of just like, oh, look at this beautiful site. So I love hiking with geologists, and we're here as a group to learn lots of stuff. Throughout this video, I'm gonna spit a whole lot of facts at you, a lot of big words, things like that. There's just so much information coming at me. So I'm gonna try my best to explain kind of what Mike explained to me, and I hope you learn something too. So I brought my niece on this hike. You'll see her throughout the videos because I wanted her to learn about geology, get out in nature, experience nature. So this experience was also for her.
So far it's been really fun, and right now we are somewhere where we have lots of big rocks that we can climb.
But reading the article
they're all
and just
over.
being blown away by all the effort that went to try and pinpoint where
so
the water
far.
from the bubble is coming from.
I don't know how long ago.
So we have extra water coming into this watershed from
some diggers
and the bubble
found
is
some
13
type
feet above the Yellow Breeches
of
Creek,
old
so it can't be
pollen
there. Water doesn't go
and
uphill. So
some
where is it coming
rocks.
from?
And
There's
that's
an
what
area
I
in York
learned.
County.
And that pollen is associated to ice. So that meant that at one point there was a lot of ice here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of fast forwarded, got ahead of ourselves, but let's backtrack a little bit. I'll pass it over to Mike, the geologist, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself and the area.
Hi, my name's Mike. I'm a geologist. I've been playing with rocks in the dirt since I was 4 years old, and I decided to make a living out of it. Welcome to Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania. We are standing at the base of Rocky Ridge, which is a roughly 2,000 foot long feature of the Weaverton and the Loudoun Formation standing on top of South Mountain. It extends from Dillsburg, and these rocks can be traced down into Virginia. They represent a depositional environment that's 570 million years old. They were shoved up and formed into a mountain during the Allegheny orogeny about 270 million years ago. And during the last ice age, they started to erode down from what we believe are alpine-type glaciers and to form the features that so many people love hiking and climbing and exploring around south central Pennsylvania. This was a beach 570 million years ago, nice tropic beach. There were no people, so there were no Mai Tais and no little umbrellas to put in the drinks, but it was still nice, I'm told. And then it gets buried under more sediments and sands, and the oceans get deeper, and you get a shale layer on top of it, and you get a limestone layer on top of that. You get another shale layer and everything else, and it pushes it down, and all this heat and pressure pushes it down, and it undergoes a process called lithification, where it gets really, really, really hard. It turns into rock from the heat and pressure.
One of the first things we did on the hike was that we saw a trace fossil. And this trace fossil is different than, typical fossils because it's not a fossilized animal or a fossilized item, but it's a remnants that shows that, in this case, a worm was here. So worms would basically create these tubes in sand that go straight down. So that implies that this whole area years and years and years ago was beach and water, and that there was these worms that left these tubes for over the years. Throughout the hike, I also learned about rock cities. Basically, it's what geologists call these huge clumps of these rocks. I learned that these rocks tend to be made of quartz because it's the most erosion resistant. So despite wind and rain, even acid at times, quartz tends to really stick through it. Whereas the bottom of the mountain, you might see more shale and limestone and probably smaller pieces that have broken off and eroded over time. And just from a personal standpoint, these rock cities are pretty cool to climb on and to see. My niece loved it. I was kind of worried that this hike would be too difficult for her, but she had such a blast climbing. And that all being said, so I wanted my niece to get out into nature and to appreciate. And this meetup was actually, I found it online through the Boiling Springs Appalachian Trail community. And their mission is also to get people outside in nature and to try to coexist.
Yeah, my name is Matthew. I'm with the Boiling Springs Appalachian Trail community. And this hike is one of several events put on through the year by the Boiling Springs Appalachian Trail community. And as a community, we try to find ways to bring nature and the community together in a way that fits for nature, that fits for wilderness, and that fits for the community. Because we see if nature and the community don't fit together and don't support each other, then we recognize there's a risk that at some point we lose the nature. We have some awesome treasures out in this area, and I encourage people to explore and discover the wonderful world around them. Thank you.
So everything Matthew said, I agree on. You know, with humans have just been taking down nature by building more and more and more, and it reaches a point that if we don't come to a sort of coexistence, that we might not have all these trails left. So that's my input. But thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something, and check back next week for another video.